Hey everybody! Released in 2003 for PC, PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube, Beyond Good and Evil is an action-adventure game set in the far-flung future, in a galaxy far, far away. Well, okay, at least on a planet far, far away. And it's a planet that's under siege, where alien invasions regularly threaten the lives of not only our small cast of protagonists, but the rest of the peaceful planet as well. Our heroine, Jade, is a freelance reporter, armed with little but a Daijo staff and a camera, who is inspired to act in the war to protect the children under her care at the Lighthouse Orphanage, most of whom have been orphaned by the attacks from the alien DOMs, stylized D-O-M-Z, for reasons that are probably too deep for me to understand, or at least just too French. Developed by Ubisoft and directed by the creator of Rayman, Michel Ancel, Beyond Good and Evil was one of those commercially unsuccessful but critically acclaimed games that you might not have played, but have probably heard of, and for good reason. Intended as part of a trilogy, Beyond Good and Evil unfortunately released quite close to Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, and thus suffered from a lack of marketing, putting those sequel plans on hold, should we say. You might have seen the cinematic trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2 from E3 2018. Now look at this. Now back to the trailer. Now back to me. Now back to the trailer. It's been a while. Beyond Good and Evil is an interesting game because it offers a strong variety of gameplay and systems in a relatively small package. While it presents as a sort of open world, it's actually quite linear, and you can expect to complete the whole game, and 100% it even, in about 8 hours. But those 8 hours are going to be spent bouncing between traveling the overworld in your hovercraft, which includes participating in races, timed events, and simple ship combat, as well as the personal combat system, exploring caves and mines for treasures with your buddy, and then, of course, the stealth system, as you infiltrate military compounds across the planet to see what's really going on with the invasion and the defense force, taking pictures to expose whose side they're really on. Oh hey, but don't forget to play some air hockey, you know, in your downtime. Beyond Good and Evil is extremely good at spacing its content out so that you don't grow tired of any one thing, and in terms of difficulty, it manages a pretty good balance. There are definitely a few stealth sections that I look at and immediately remember, oh, yep, that one sucks. But despite the fact that Beyond Good and Evil only allows manual saves, the checkpointing for dying or getting caught is very generous, and most of the time, you're even allowed to hide rather than restart the section. In addition to this, the most difficult sections are usually optional, locked behind side doors that just give you some treasures or money at the end, rewarding you for your hard work without forcing you to go through it, at least until you're ready. You do need 71 pearls to complete the game, but there's a little bit of wiggle room there, with 88 pearls total to collect. What I really like though is how unique each area of the game feels. Where I feel Beyond Good and Evil shines is in the environments, from the cinematic visuals to the music and sound design. I'm not going to pretend the story is some masterpiece, because it's not. It's decent, but it doesn't try terribly hard to hide where it's going, and it can't let you ruminate on a twist for longer than a moment before it undoes it. But Beyond Good and Evil is good at stoking an imagination, and keeping the tension high. Really bad idea to play when you have to go to the bathroom, by the way. Just putting that one out there.
I'm going! I'm going! Nothing!
But, putting stealth aside for the moment, let's talk about the buddy system. Out in the open world, you'll always have a friend with you. Someone who will chat back and forth with Jade to fill traveling moments, remind you about your objectives, or help you out in fights, and then ask for your hard-earned healing items.
In bad shape, Miss Jade.
Oh. As someone who really likes two-person puzzles, sadly, I find there's not much depth to this system. You can't tell them to do anything more than push a button or use their special action. But this might also be for the better. This is 2003, so AI programming isn't really there yet. Anyone who's played Mass Effect 1 and had to contend with those systems can attest to the fact that, when done poorly, they're real bad. And that was made in 2007. And controlling two people manually is always clunky. That said, they are there to provide a little more life and charm to the world, which is good because Jade's character doesn't say much. Stark contrast to the closely released Sands of Time, which featured an extremely chatty main character and mostly solitary play. Some other oddities worth mentioning while we're on the subject of conversation is the voice acting, which, where it pertains to the three protagonists, is pretty darn good. Where it pertains to the additional voices, however, it tends to get a little strange, especially when characters on opposite sides of the war share a voice actor.
The Alpha sections are incapable of assuring the protection of Hillis. Prepare the bodies for transfer to the moon. I repeat, prepare the bodies.
Interestingly, the English release actually has the fewest voice actors of all of them, only 8 in total compared to other languages which all have a dozen or so. This does take a little something away from the immersive cinematic feel that Ubisoft was going for, and you can tell they wanted it to be cinematic because the natural resolution for the game looks like this. This is a 4:3 aspect ratio, pretending to be widescreen. Played on a 16:9 monitor, it looks like this. Game devs in 2003 were full of bad decisions. Fortunately, it's not difficult to patch the game to run in a more palatable format, and I will accept your praise for doing so in the comments below. Before we close up, one of the last things I want to mention is the photography mechanic. I haven't really found a place to mention it because while it feels like a significant portion of the game, it doesn't really provide much other than flavor. Essentially, given that Jade's job is in photojournalism, one of your main sources of income, necessary to buy healing items, upgrades, and some pearls, is going to be taking fuzzy JPEGs of the wildlife around the planet. This, along with the pearls, is one of the 100% completion tasks, your reward at the end being a photo album of all of the out-of-focus, poorly framed shots that you took. Oh man, nature sure is beautiful. Jabs aside, this is actually a pretty unique approach to the whole collectathon thing that has really gotten out of hand in recent years. There are a good amount of animals to photograph, it's really satisfying to find a new one, and they try to make it so that if you miss one, you can go back for it or find it somewhere else, especially for the ones that are actively attacking you while you try to get the shot. That said, there are a few that are missable, or at the very least, a huge pain to go back for, and there is a point of no return toward the end of the game. Even so, I like it a lot more than opening 500 chests or planting 100 flags, so it's a win in my book. Despite some strangeness, hamminess, and oldness, Beyond Good and Evil manages to be a game full of heart. It's got a weird title, a simplistic Mash-A style combat, and the sequel's gonna be some sort of trip, but it's still an iconic title, and a fun playthrough even now. Besides, I get a huge ego boost when I can do the 2-player minigame by myself. And isn't that worth something? Thanks everyone for watching. If you like this video, let me know. Leave a comment or a like or whatever. And hey, Nostalgia Trip is a series for everybody. You can check out the playlist to find some new old games to enjoy. Old games tend to be cheap, you know. Or see if I've reviewed a favorite of yours. And if I haven't, hey, why not suggest it? Thanks again, and happy gaming!